everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at the Wednesday race of the day. It is race 8 at Gulfstream Park. This one, a 5-furlong race on the all-weather surface for the 3-year-old fillies. An optional claiming event, $75,000 is the tag. First level allowance is that allowance condition. And do note, this being the race of the day, you can head on over to the race of the day page on DRF.com and get free all-access past performances for this race, Formulator, Timeform US, whatever you want to use, you can handicap along with us. Mike, a field of 8 runners signed on for this race, and she's not the morning line favorite, but when I was handicapping this, I thought the horse they all had to get around was the number 3 Loris, who has shown plenty of ability on the turf, and we'll see if she can handle the synthetic.
Yeah, I guess the surface switch could be the main thing working against her here if she's not going to go favorite. But I'm kind of with you. I thought she was the horse to beat here. A race where there's sort of a lack of fast races so far for most of these fillies. The horse who is the morning line favorite, I guess what she has going for her is she does have a fast race.
Yeah, she one horse going up for the Mark Cassie barn, and Cassie always dangerous in any race on an all-weather surface wherever it takes place. Both of those fillies have some early speed. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race to see how they might sort themselves out on the front end. And kind of interesting, the Timeform US has Loris on a clear early lead here. She has been involved in some fast-paced races on the turf. I don't know if she's necessarily a need the lead type, so we'll see how aggressive she is. But both horses that are drawn inside of her have shown speed on occasion. The number 1, Mattinata, showed speed that we didn't see from her before in her last race, and she could be a little more forward than it's shown in the pace projector, as well as the number 7, Blossoming Erudite. She's shown speed on the turf, so I thought this pace could be a little more contentious than this graphic might make it seem.
I kind of agree with you there. I won't be surprised when Loris is sort of on a little bit of ascent here and does make the lead, but I don't know. I just feel like it can get more competitive than that, particularly when it comes to the 2 Patriotic War. I mean, I'm not sure that she necessarily had to go that fast when she broke her maiden first time out, but they certainly weren't trying to make the lead with her in a stakes race last time. I just sort of thought they'd maybe get a little bit more aggressive with her this time.
Let's go through this field in program number order, beginning with the number 1, Mattinata, and she is one of those horses that could be forwardly placed if she shows as much speed as she did last time when she got right to the front end in this replay that we're taking a look at and just ran this field off its feet. She widened her advantage every step of the way, and it's not like she was beating nobody on this occasion. The runner-up, Unshakable, came back to run pretty well in her next start, improving her buyer by 11 points. So I think that flatters Mattinata to some extent. I think the big question with her, Mike, is where did that last race come from?
Yeah. Where did that improvement come from? Is exactly right. And can she do it again now? I guess what feels like a tougher field. I'll be honest with you, David. She was the toughest call in the race for me because I didn't particularly like her prior start on the all-weather surface, and I just don't really know what to make of that most recent start. I know it got a figure. I know she won easily. The fractions look fast, but when I watched that race, I don't know. I just thought she had no trouble at all, making the lead in that spot. Was basically loose around the track, and nobody challenged her late.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about her one prior synthetic race is she was dueling with a pretty good horse on the front end in Personify, but she might find some other quality speed foes in this race to her outside, so we'll see how she deals with that. The number 2 is Patriotic War, and Mike, you mentioned her debut race at Woodbine, where she got right to the front, was able to set pretty moderate fractions. We'll take a look at the stretch run of that race as she's just able to draw away through the lane and looked like a Mark Cassie trainee that had some real talent. They made her favored when she came back against the males, facing fellow Ontario breds in the Clarendon Stakes next time at Woodbine, and just didn't look like the same horse. You mentioned her not being as aggressively ridden. She kind of got outrun around the far turn when they finally did ask her to go a little bit, and she just never got back into that race. We saw the winner, Manzetti, come back in the Jerome last week. Didn't run particularly well, but that was on the dirt. Just trying to figure out who this filly is at this point because we've seen 2 different versions of her.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff, especially when you're talking about a horse who is the morning line favorite. You see Iran Ortiz taking them out here, so you're not getting a price here. And I do think it's fair to question exactly how good she is. I thought her debut was fine without being sort of blown away by it. I didn't want to be too hard on her for that last one. To me, there was just no way she was going to win that race, and it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. I don't know, man. I wouldn't take a short price on her. I won't be surprised when she wins.
The number three is Loris, and I think it's pretty clear cut that if she handles the synthetic and translates her prior turf form to the surface, she's going to be a handful in this race because she ran really well on debut. I thought that was a solid maiden field that she was beating that day. She really had to dig deep to win by half a length. And then she came back in her next start, the matron. It was a large 12 horse field. It was a pretty competitive affair for a grade three event. That was a turf sprint in the fall of those 2-year-old seasons. And I thought she ran really well that day. It was a competitive pace. It was starting to fall apart at the end. She kept battling on right until the final 16th of a mile and just faded a little bit. And you look at her pedigree, Mike, and there's not supposed to be too many obstacles preventing her from handling synthetic. Bolt Doro is a great synthetic influence, and she's a half to a synthetic winner on the dam side.
Yeah, and the dam, the dam didn't run, but the second dam won on all three surfaces. She was a good synthetic horse. She's a half sister to Shared Belief, who was not only a great horse, a great synthetic horse. I'm not worried about the pedigree here at all. Like you, I like both of her starts, realizing that they were on a different surface. I'm not sure that I love the blinkers going on here, David. I'm not sure that I felt like she needed those, but she does get Lasix in here, and I think she's very, very well spotted.
The number four is Sweet Sash, who's going to be a bigger price in this race. She's cutting back in distance after trying two turns in the wait a while last time. That was on the turf. Just looked like a horse that really wanted no part of going that far. She did get a bit of a wide trip. She did get a very good trip when she broke her maiden over the synthetic course two back, facing a field that was considerably weaker than the one that she's meeting here. So she just has to find some improvement.
Yeah, I looked at her the same way. I don't love either of her two first two starts on this surface. She broke pretty poorly in her debut. I still didn't think that she ran as well as Bad Gal Party, who's also back in this field. And then she just got a perfect trip when she won second time out. She just, to me, she's a horse who has to improve quite a bit.
The number five is Obliging, a horse who ran really well to win her debut race on the dirt at Monmouth Park, going all the way back to early summer of last year. Was a very short price that day. In retrospect, wasn't beating a whole lot, and she's lost all five starts since then, kind of switching surfaces to see what she prefers. I will say her one synthetic start in the My Deer up at Woodbine, it's not as bad as it looks on paper when you watch the replay. She kind of got outrun mid-race and was coming back at the end of that. And then after that, she's faced some decent fields, especially last time she was in that race that was won by Savetta, who came back to finish a pretty good third in a stakes race here last weekend. And I just feel like she's kept some pretty good company in her races. I go back to her turf sprint three back the last time that she sprinted around one turn and just got a little outrun early, encountered some traffic, but again, it was really running on at the end. And I feel like if this pace does heat up at all, she's the one I can point to that might be picking up the pieces late.
I agree. I do kind of feel like too that she's just better going shorter. Her route race two starts back wasn't bad, but I think she's just better going shorter, at least at this point. And we'll see how she handles the synthetic. I hear what you're saying about the only synthetic start, David. Certainly, it was a tougher race up at Woodbine, and yeah, I didn't know what to make of it. She was running on late, it did seem like, but she was also really involved with a chance to be really competitive. And I just felt like she got swamped on the turn of that race and couldn't go with those horses and was just kind of running again when the race was already over. I don't know, man. I think she's dangerous in here if she can handle cutting back, man, from a couple of two-turn routes to a 5 furlong race. That is not easy.
Yeah, she is bred to handle synthetic. She's a half sister to a stakes winner on that surface, Beautiful Empire. The number six is Strong Like Sara, a horse who is just going to have to get faster coming in here. She broke her maiden on the dirt at Monmouth. She switched over to the turf for her last couple of starts. I'll say that her Stuart manner isn't as bad as it might look on paper because she got into a little bit of trouble around the far turn. She lost position sort of abruptly. It's kind of hard to see on the replay what really happened to her, but she plummeted for about 16th of a mile there. And then last time going the mile distance just looked like a horse that maybe didn't want to go that far. And also she was meeting the boys that day, now back with the fillies. She's still going to have to run faster, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a step forward here.
Yeah, she was one of the horses. I didn't think there were that many interesting bigger prices in here, but maybe she was one of them because I saw all the same things that you saw two back in a tougher spot. She's another horse who gets Lasix for the first time here. It's just one of those things that you're going to have to reckon with over and over again here early in the year, the newly turned 3-year-olds. They all get to run with Lasix now, and somebody is going to really appreciate it and jump forward.
The number 7 is Blossoming Erudite. She is a horse who will want to show speed in this race. She did win her maiden event in her second start in gate to wire fashion, that being on the turf. Got away with a very easy lead that day. I mean, just cleared off to the front and got reined in by the jockey, but going as slow as she really wanted to over that distance and was just able to hold on late. That was against New York breds. She's faced some tougher company in the last two starts, faded, couldn't really keep up at any point in the Stewart Manor after going wide. Didn't really like the dirt last time, so now they'll try synthetic. She's got some speed and she's okay. I'm a little concerned she's going to get outrun early.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to necessarily be fast enough to be part of this pace, but I guess we'll see how it all plays out. Ultimately, David, she's got the one win, and I don't like that performance enough to want to bet her back in this spot.
And then on the outside is the number 8, Bad Gal Party. She is a horse who broke her maiden on debut over the all-weather surface at Gulfstream, but was beating a field of questionable quality that day, including today's rival, Sweet Sash. Came back in two tougher spots and just really didn't show very much at all. I mean, she was a little bit wide in her last race, but was never seriously involved there. And she's just another one that's going to have to find some real improvement to be a factor.
She's got to improve a lot. I think I have a little bit of a different view of her, perhaps than you do. She was the long shot that I'm going to try to get in there somewhere because I actually felt like she ran pretty well in her career debut. I know it didn't get any kind of a figure at all, but she was taking pressure on the lead in that race basically from the start. She shrugged it off. Sweet Sash, who's back in here and who did return to win, took a real run at her through the stretch, and I thought this horse held her off really, really easily. Her Indian Summer, listen, I'm not going to defend that performance too hard, but that was a fast and contested pace, and she paid the price in there. They tried to rate her a little bit last time, and it didn't work out. I think they're going to maybe go forward again here. If she gets Lasix, I think maybe she's a little dirtied up, and she'll be a price.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about her Indian Summer two back. We'll see if she can get back to that performance or build on it. Well, let's throw up our picks for this first level allowance event on Wednesday. And Mike, you're not trying to beat Loris. She just looks like the best horse on the way in. And if she handles the surface the way that she's supposed to, she'll be tough.
Yeah, nothing clever for me here. I preferred Loris to the other favorite, Patriotic War. I'll use her on top, and I'm going to try to get the 8 in there.
Yeah, I was just hoping this pace would come apart a little bit, enough for Obliging to pick them up at the end. I feel like she's shown some hints of talent along the way, hasn't really put all the pieces together since that debut race, but maybe in this field, getting back on the all-weather on Wednesday, she'll be able to do so. So the number 5, Obliging for me, the number 3, Loris for Mike in the Wednesday race of the day. It is race 8 at Gulfstream Park. Good luck if you're playing the races later this week.